optical bonding allows you, it is much recommended for outdoor applications because you get bright sunlight which is coming onto your display, and displays which don't actually have any optical bonding between the display and the touchscreen, you find that it becomes very, very difficult to read on the bright day. And this is because you're getting in between the gap, the display and the touchscreen. You've got an air gap in there, and in there you're going to get a lot of reflections on there. So what you find that what's reflecting back at you is overpowering the display itself. So the light coming from the display is being washed out by the reflection. So the best way to do is try and manage that reflection. Optical bonding does a very, very good job because it fills out that air gap. It takes away the internal reflections, and you'll find that your display will work a lot better and be a lot more readable. Okay, but as I said, it does the mechanical aspect as well, because it also strengthens that assembly. And in some cases, you can double the impact before that actually breaks in some cases with optical bonding. So again, very highly recommended for two reasons: outdoor application, sunlight readability, and added mechanical strength. This is a 7-inch display, very popular size in the industry. And what we've done with this is we've actually taken half the display and we've introduced optical bonding glue down one half, and the other half is without optical bonding glue. So basically there is an air gap between the touchscreen and the display on this side, but there's no air gap between the display and the touchscreen on this side because the air gap is filled with this optical glue. What you will immediately notice is the actual shade. So this side is much darker because we have no internal reflections causing the display to light, and this side is a lot lighter because caused by the internal reflections. So you can see that visually there is a definite difference. The display at the moment is off, but what I like about this display when it's off, it really does help with your styling. So you can imagine you're styling a particular product where you can imagine there's a cover lens on here which is going to be black, and the rest of your casing is going to be black. Quite often it's nice for that display area to look black as well. You only notice there's a display in that product when you actually press the on button. And of course with the optical bonding, the colours on your display is a lot more vivid than they are without it, again, because you're not getting this internal interference, as I like to call it. We've seen a significant fall in the optical bonding process, and it's probably down to many LCD companies now setting up their own optical bonding line so they can actually do that in-house. So it's interesting to see that the price has actually come down. So it's very, very affordable now. Another advantage of optical bonding is you can actually save energy and save power on that, because the brightness of your backlight doesn't need to be as bright as it would have done in the past. Now, in the past without optical bonding, for instance, for an outdoor application, you needed a backlight that was going to, for instance, output around about 1500 candelas. So it's loads of LEDs that you need in that backlight unit. If you've got a lot of LEDs in your backlight unit, then you've got to be conscious about heat generation. So you need to design your backlight unit with great big heat sinks just to draw that extra heat away from the LEDs. Failing to do that, you will find that your LEDs eventually will start failing too quickly. So that's another backlight change there. Optical bonding means that you can now reduce that brightness. You know, sort of from, you don't need 1500 candelas anymore. 1000 candelas will suffice. The mechanical aspect is very, very important, and is something that we will discuss right at the beginning of a project and of a particular design, because that will, in a way, determine just how thick your cover glass needs to be. The minimum we would recommend for any outdoor type applications is a 4mm glass. That would be tempered, and it will also depend on the customer's design, their enclosure design as well, because all that will play a factor in whether or not they pass a particular IK rating, is the term that's given to it, or not. So we look at the design of the enclosure. So if it's going in a cabinet type product where you could have a display which is mounted on the front door, for instance, etc. And if you were to strike that particular display, you find a lot of the energy will be absorbed with the entire cabinet. Now in situations where a display is going into something that's quite shallow, it's going to be in certain brickwork or metalwork, etc. So there's not a lot of energy that can dissipate away from the glass. Then we have to look at going thicker glass, because that glass then will be taking the bulk of the impact. If you hit that, you're not going to shake the old building. That's going to rebound back into the glass, and you find that it could break, which is why you'd go for something really, really thick for IK08. But if it's going into a cabinet of some sort where it's fairly quite flexible, so if you were to hit it with a certain level of energy, certain force, the energy has various places where it can dissipate. Okay, so you bang, so you can hear the sound. Again, that's energy being released. The movements, that's energy being released. So it's not, as long as it doesn't all end up into the glass, then that glass can be thinner. I think viewing angles have become more and more of a concern, much more than they did a few years ago. The best way to ensure that you get a good viewing angle is to ensure that you use a TFT panel, which has been designed to perform with wide viewing angles, like IPS. IPS, you will see that in many of your TV applications, but IPS, which stands for in-plane switching, ensures that you get all-round even viewing angles, no matter where you look at the display, and they can go up to sort of 89 degrees for the left, 89 right, top and bottom. So you can see that is a very, very good display. There is a cost associated with it, but obviously the best things do tend to be a little bit more expensive. Now, if your budget won't stretch that far to an IPS display, we can go back to our trusted TN TFT displays. And we know that TN TFT displays, there's one side that you look at it, which is simply disadvantaged when it comes to looking at the contrast. You start seeing color inversions. Now, there are films out there that can counteract that you can actually add to the display to sort of even that out. With a touch button, that's basically to give you some sort of feedback that you're actually touching the right button. Now, I believe that idea sort of evolved for sort of like automotive type applications. You can imagine you're driving on the car, but there's something that comes on the radio. No, I prefer to listen to my favourite song on my SD card or whatever. I need to go and change it. And the idea is that you can actually feel your touch console when you're over and over the right button to apply whatever sort of pressure you need to apply to it to get it to react, rather than taking your eyes off the road. So I guess that's a safety issue in a sense for automotive. But again, there are other applications I'm sure that people can make use of features like touch bumps. The spot facing is sort of the opposite to the bumps, where the bumps are sort of protruding from the glass. Spot facing is more a cut out into the glass. Again, I think the results really, from my point of view, will give you the same sort of results on there, the same sort of satisfaction. You can determine the button that you're touching. This particular one, again, I speak out of faith, is never one of my favourites. We find that we did quite a bit of styling and design features on this particular display. Now, looking at it as it is, you think, okay, it's a rectangle. Okay, I can see a pretty nice logo on there. You may have noted that this logo is full colour logo. So we had to get the right blending and the right gradients to really bring that logo out and make it recognisable. But there's some other good features on there. We have drill holes on here. We have clear windows on here. On the rear side of it, we have like very strong bonding tape that's onto the back of this. The customer just simply needs to peel off the cover, and they will stick that straight into their unit. But the other features I like on this, along this side here, we have what we call secret until lit or hidden until lit windows on here. Now, you won't see those until you bring it up to the light. Now, if you to shine a light behind it, you'll find that these windows will then come to life, basically. And they will come to life depending on the colour of the LED that you've got shining behind it. Again, down this side, each of these icons will indicate that a certain action or activity is taking place. We have in the middle, of course, a nice 10.1 IPS display. And as I say, the whole thing is bonded, mounted together, delivered to the customer. They simply drop it into their plastics, connect up the display, and away they go with it.